You know, we enjoy on 3+U seeing many of our guests be familiar faces to us here on the show, and we get a lot of feedback from those of you watching saying they feel the same way because you have a chance to really get to know these people and have a better understanding of what they do. And every time I talk with Charles Miller at Scenic Neurotherapy, I learn something new, and that's the case this morning. So good to see you.
Good to see you again.
I don't think I even want to get into it on the air about all the things that I've learned from you, but I mention it because when people first come in to see you, it's a complimentary conversation / assessment, and they're going to learn how much you know and how much you listen.
Well, it's a new way of doing things, especially where mental health is concerned, and so education is such a key component to success with treatment.
Right.
So education should, in this area, be free. It should be something you get to come in and sit down and spend an hour with me or one of the other providers and just really dig into to see if this is something that might be beneficial.
Well, because it is a new way of thinking. You come from an anesthetic background. You're a nurse anesthetist. Am I saying that right? So you worked in the healthcare industry for a long time, but this ketamine that you use for pediatric anesthesia has been researched a lot, and they found these other benefits for it. So you're working really closely with people who struggle with PTSD and other forms of trauma. Is that right?
That's right. PTSD, depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, OCD are all things that we treat at our facility. We use ketamine infusion therapy and transcranial magnetic stimulation. We've even adopted the S&T or Stanford Saint protocol.
I don't know what that is.
It's a brand new intensive week treatment that has one of the highest rates of remission with intractable depression.
In terms of the educational outreach that you enjoy doing in your office, you know that not everyone can get to your office on Shallowford Road. You can't see that many people in a day. So you reached out to Mayor Kelly recently to declare a specific day.
We did. We put forth a proclamation. So there's a national PTSD awareness holiday that already exists, but we wanted Chattanooga to embrace that as well. And so we reached out to Mayor Kelly through a petition, and he has acknowledged it. And so now in Chattanooga, June 27th will be PTSD Awareness Day in Chattanooga.
Even those 4 letters, PTSD, I mean, I remember growing up, we didn't even know what that was. I remember the first time I heard it thinking, what is this? And now you talk to so many people who say, yes, I struggle with PTSD. The world that we live in right now is so intense. You work a lot with first responders who struggle.
We do. We work a lot with our Chattanooga Police Department, Hamilton County, surrounding districts around Chattanooga. We treat our first responders, EMS, firefighters. We support our community as best we can. We find that when we take care of our community, we lift them up, we all move up a little bit.
So I can't go to school the way you did in a 6-minute conversation on television. But explain to me a little bit how this works, because it's not a physical release of the body, it's a brain.
I think it's the concept that the brain and body are 2 very separate things. What it is the brain controls our bodies. And so while we feel, people that struggle with PTSD have a very physical whole body response. But what we do stimulates a process called neurogenesis, and regrowth of neurons in the brain, and a reawakening of areas that aren't communicating well, called neuronal lesions.
Okay, but are those areas not communicating well in the case of PTSD, for example, because of whatever the trauma was that you experienced? Is that part of your brain?
It is. There's several studies that were done in the last 5 years over how people with PTSD in particular have these large neuronal lesions that develop specifically in the frontal lobe where they process information, but it also changes sensory input. It changes you'll see people with PTSD start to develop pain conditions, just generalized pain overall. And it's just an inappropriate synapse or signal being sent by the brain to the body.
Okay, so does that mean, it's easy, I guess, to kind of understand that if you've got a 35-year-old police officer who comes in. But suppose it's somebody their walk seems to have been a normal one in life, but they had something that happened in their childhood. Does that mark on your brain occur at the moment of the trauma, and then as you live your life and other difficult situations happen, it kind of grows?
It can, because the brain is constantly compensating. So when we see a deficit develop, the brain will start to compensate and it can even increase the size of this lesion over time.
So it's not that different from if you have poor posture, right, and you sit like this, eventually it's going to be harder for you to straighten up, which means you're going to sit more like this. Is that a fair analogy?
That's a very fair analogy. Over time, if we don't address issues, they worsen over time. And we all try to, whenever we struggle, we try to keep our head down and keep moving, and that's just not a healthy way to move forward.
Okay, something I want to make sure I get out for people, because you always want to focus on this. You do not pretend to be the fix.
No.
You are one cog in the wheel.
We are, I tell my patients all the time, I am not the fix. This is not a one-stop shop and then everything is fine. We work closely with local therapists and other mental health providers, with physical therapists, with our pain patients, because there's a lot of rebuilding that has to occur. Once we get the physiology communicating effectively, then you have to learn how to use it. And that's where the therapists and other mental health providers carry the patient forward.
So what's the proper order of things? If someone's watching thinking, okay, wait, this could help me, or this could help my neighbor, or whatever, is the correct order to come to you and then see where this treatment might take a person to then guide them to the right mental health professional, or vice versa?
You can talk to your mental hehealth provider and say, hey, what do you think about this?
But what if you don't have one? I think
if you don't have one, reach out to us, we'll get you with one. That's a big piece of our process is to make sure that we're at the highest standard of efficacy with our treatments, that we're very safe, and that we have a strong follow-up plan. That's what keeps people doing well, is that we stick with you. Once you're our patient, you're ours, and we get you to where you're wanting to go.
I'm sorry to get in the weeds like this so much, but it's very interesting to me. So if somebody comes to you and they use this ketamine treatment, and it's a series of them, right?
Right.
Okay, then they have some type of clarity, I guess. Is that right, where they're...
It's increased functioning. Just think of it like if your brain were a computer and we upgrade the processor. So it's all the same programs running, you're just running better. Everything's moving.
So if you're running
direction.
better, won't that help you to better communicate with the mental health professional to find the proper path for you in your treatment?
Absolutely, and we oftentimes will equate talk therapy to physical therapy. It's physical therapy before a knee replacement only gets you so far, but it helps. It helps keep you functional. But then we get the knee replaced, and then you have to do the physical therapy to continue to heal and get better. Okay,
this is why I wanted to go so in the weeds this morning, so thanks for allowing me to do it. But this is the type of conversation you'll be able to have with him when you come in, if you choose to go see about how this might benefit you, because you're going to have a ton of questions, and he's going to be able to really address them and answer you honestly. So you'll find him at Scenic City Neurotherapy. It's Charles Miller. 228-0579 is the phone number. ScenicCityNeurotherapy.com is the website. And if you've been watching thinking, wait a minute, here he was, this serious guy today, but I've been seeing him associated with something else you'll do on 3+U, it's because Charles does love to laugh. And so a few months ago, he began to help us bring to you the dad joke of the week, because mental health can't be functioning well if you can't find the humor and the joy in life. So here is our good friend and co-worker, Jason Wright, a dad, with this week's installment of the dad joke of the week.
Your Dad Joke of the Week, brought to you by Scenic City Neurotherapy. Everyone deserves a laugh.
Welcome back for this week's installment of the Dad Joke of the Week. Does anybody know what a pirate's favorite Apple accessory is? An eye patch. And on that note, if I witness a crime in an Apple store, does that make me an eyewitness? Thank you.
Jokes are a great way to support mental health, but at the end of the day, sometimes we need more than support. Sometimes we need intervention. Scenic City Neurotherapy is here to provide a better way of dealing with mental health issues.